This is CBN Newswatch.
Welcome to CBN Newswatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Well, the pro-life community in Pennsylvania is reeling after a Democratic lawmaker dismissed the need to handle the remains of a miscarried baby with care. She did so by using callous language, calling those remains, quote, a mess on a napkin. There's a growing push both nationally and at the state level to either bury or cremate unborn children who have died through a miscarriage or abortion. Heather Sells has more from Pennsylvania.
More callous Democratic language on abortion this week has the pro-life community reeling. It happened in Pennsylvania during a hearing on a bill that focuses on the way that health care facilities like Planned Parenthood handle the remains of an unborn child that dies in a miscarriage or abortion. Democrat Wendy Ullman first referred to the unborn child as a product of conception.
It refers specifically to the product of conception after fertilization, which covers an awful lot of territory.
She then went on to minimize the unborn child.
I think we all understand the concept of the loss of a fetus, but we're also talking about a woman who comes into a facility and is having cramps, and not to be concrete, an early miscarriage is just some mess on a napkin.
The Pennsylvania Family Institute quickly condemned the language. A miscarriage, no matter how early, does not result in a mess on a napkin, but the loss of a child, said a spokesman, who added the remains of human beings should be treated better than medical waste. The bill is similar to one that passed in Indiana and a piece of national legislation introduced in Washington just this week. The intent: respect the unborn and promote accountability from the abortion industry. Anti-abortion advocates say they want to prevent abortion doctors like Kermit Gosnell from misusing the growing bodies of the unborn. The Pennsylvania lawmaker's language is reminding some of the governor of Virginia, who earlier this year publicly defended a type of infanticide on a radio program.
The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mothers.
It's language that draws a stark contrast between the pro-abortion movement and those who want to protect the unborn. Heather Sells, CBN News.
And joining us now is Emily Crepes with the Pennsylvania Family Institute. Emily, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Wendy.
Well, first, what is your reaction to Pennsylvania Democrat Wendy Ullman's language that a miscarriage is just some mess on a napkin?
Frankly, it was appalling, terribly insensitive. The legislators before her, before she spoke, even the lead sponsor shared a story about his own family's loss of an unborn child. And I have not had a miscarriage myself, but I have friends and family who have had miscarriages, and even at a very early stage, they mourn that loss. That's a human life, no matter at what stage.
That's right. Well, in your opinion, how should healthcare facilities, including Planned Parenthood, handle the remains of unborn children that die in a miscarriage or abortion?
Well, they should bury them or cremate them. Right now in Pennsylvania, they're simply treated as medical waste. We don't treat other humans like that. With Kermit Gosnell's clinic, when that was raided in 2011, his abortion clinic, they found babies in bags stuffed into freezers, in jars. In the state of Indiana, they found one abortionist had thousands of fetal remains in his car and in his home. And so we need to recognize, we need to show respect to the dignity and show dignity to these unborn lives, and give them it's not, you don't want to say dispose, but we need to take care of them properly, bury them or cremate them. That needs to be recognized.
Emily, there's similar legislation to the Pennsylvania bill and Indiana bills at a national level now. What's really at stake here? Why are pro-abortion supporters so opposed to honoring these babies' remains?
Well, I mean, right now they don't recognize that they have lives. So if they truly recognize that this was a human life, they wouldn't support killing them. And in order to, if you're going to keep, not recognize them as a life, then why would you recognize them in death? So it's a push to, they don't want to recognize the humanity of these unborn children. And so that's why, we support this bill, because it does show that these are human lives, no matter how early these babies are.
Yeah, how do you think it's going to go there in Pennsylvania with this bill?
We hope to see it pass. Right now, it's just started. So the comments that you heard from Representative Ullman, that was during a House committee meeting. So it still needs to pass the House and then go to the Senate. The governor, he is a pro-abortion governor, but he has not said anything about this bill. However, this bill does have support from both sides of the aisle. So we hope to see a favorable outcome.
All right. Emily Crepes with the Pennsylvania Family Institute. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, a new poll suggests that 47% of Americans approve of the House impeachment inquiry into President Trump. The investigation is focused on Trump's efforts to push Ukraine to investigate his Democratic political opponents. The AP poll found that a majority of Americans think Trump did do something wrong, but only 38% say he actually broke the law.
A phony impeachment process. The other side has been after the president since he got into office. They were talking about impeachment, shortly after he was inaugurated. I think the other side is looking for anything they can to bring down the president.
Whether you voted for him or not, if he did something wrong and it's against the law and it's an impeachable offense, that's what should happen.
Democrats say the formal procedures are similar to rules used during the impeachment proceedings of Presidents Richard Nixon and Bill Clinton. Republicans say they are skewed against Trump. And we'll have more on this story and others this evening on Faith Nation. You can watch it right here on the CBN News Channel at 6 p.m. Well, Russian troops are now patrolling the streets of some cities in northern Syria. And while the U.S. has pulled back from the region, some American aid workers have gone in to help with the crisis. Chuck Holton has our story.
While the American withdrawal led to greater Russian and Turkish influence in Syria, aid workers on the ground say there is no ceasefire. Retired Marine Captain Brandon Wheeler has spent years getting to know the players in this region. He says the U.S. gave up a huge opportunity in northern Syria.
The fascism of Islamic fascism and the totalitarianism of Russia and Assad, those things are not going to be better ideas to freedom and self-government. It just won't work. So if you had played it out, and if we had done what we did post-World War II and built this place up, everybody in the area would want to be here. It'd be the most prosperous, successful place in the whole region. All of that may be lost.
Now the other players are rushing in to fill the power vacuum left by the U.S. exit.
What I can tell you for sure is whether it's Putin or Assad or the Salafi Islamists or Turkey, the one thing they can all agree on is that self-governance, individual freedom is a threat to all of them. So they will exterminate this project at all costs.
Dave Eubank has been leading a small team of medics in northern Syria since mid-October, and he believes the U.S. still has a role to play.
This was an emergent, small democracy of a mixed ethnic religious group that got along with each other. But they needed us in the middle to help hold that together and to keep ISIS down. These people fought and defeated ISIS here, but to keep them from rising again, the U.S. needs to stay. Also, to stop Assad and his dictatorship to taking over this whole country.
Despite the supposed ceasefire, Turkish-backed forces are still killing Kurds in this area.
Imagine what it would be like if every time you heard an airplane go overhead, you had to worry about your car or your house vaporizing. That's what the people here in northern Syria are worried about now because of the ever-present threat of Turkish drones flying overhead. And it's changing the way they live. So, for example, we park our car underneath the trees if we need to because we try not to be too visible from the air.
This Kurdish soldier says he hopes the world will understand that they're fighting not just for themselves.
We could die at any time here from airstrike, from a drone, from artillery. But the most important thing for us is that the world sees that we are standing up against this tyranny from Erdogan.
For these men, the U.S. involvement here is important not just for the Kurds, but for America as well.
The U.S. cannot solve the problems of Syria or anywhere else. But right here, we create a space where the Kurds and the Arabs, the Christians and the Yazidis and others can work something out, and they were. There's no guarantee it'll work, but guaranteed it will fail if you leave.
A threat to freedom anywhere is a threat to freedom everywhere. And if you can't secure freedom here, you will be sure that people who want to kill Americans, who have killed Americans, will come here in order to man, train, equip, and prepare for the next war, because they are committed.
From northern Syria, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Thanks, Chuck. ISIS has declared a new leader, this after the death of its leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. The group confirmed Baghdadi's death in a U.S. raid in Syria, as well as the death of a close aide and spokesman for the group since 2016. The killings were a double blow to the extremist group nearly 7 months after its territorial defeat in Syria. In an audio message by an Islamic media arm, the new leader is being called Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurayshi. There were no other details. President Trump tweeted today, ISIS has a new leader, and we know exactly who it is. Coming up, wildfires continue to rage across parts of California. How churches there are stepping in to help. But before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNNews.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel. Now available at cbnradio.com.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
Prophecy thousands of years old.
We were called to be a light to the world.
Being fulfilled today. Discover how. Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life. Just call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is. This is what I'm doing.
See how the people of Israel are fulfilling prophecy.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
By sharing their knowledge.
In Africa, in Asia, in South America, in East Europe.
And their love.
This is how we work. This is us.
Get to life. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
More fires in Southern California forced the evacuations of thousands of people overnight. In some areas, residents raced to save their animals. In Riverside County, embers rained down on horses terrified by the fires. Others raced to save almost 100 dogs and cats. Shifting winds hurled debris in different directions. Firefighters are also working on just a few hours' sleep as they try to contain the blazes.
When it starts high on the ridgetop like that, it takes a bit of time to creep down the mountain. The second issue that actually caused was we've got access issues getting to the actual edges of the fire. So at this time, our efforts are evacuations, getting close into the structures, providing structure defense where we can. Second to that will be perimeter control.
Thousands of people are still without power as several fires burn across different parts of the state. And joining us now is Brandon Philpott, the lead pastor at New Song Church in Santa Rosa, California. Welcome, Pastor Brandon.
Thank you, Wendy. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it looks like you're in a safe part of the state. What can you tell us about the situation there, and has your church had to evacuate?
Yes, thank you. We've just begun returning to the area in the last 48 hours. I'm staying on our church property now. The hills that you can see in the background is how close the fire got to us right here on the northern end of Windsor. Our parking lot was actually used right here by CAL FIRE and other local strike teams to hold the fire back. Your viewers probably know the Kincaid fire has been burning here for over a week now, consuming nearly 80,000 acres, with over 200,000 evacuated from this region. Just returning in the last 24 to 48 hours.
What is your church doing now that you guys are safe, and the other churches in the area, what are they doing to help?
Yeah, great question. I think we have a great network of churches in this area. You'll also remember that we are just recovering still from the Northern California fires of 2017. And so there's been a great move here in this community of unity around local government and local agency. The churches are certainly leading in that area as well. So our partnership with churches are responding, working with some of those local agencies and government to meet needs, simple needs like hygiene kits, meals, things like this in the short run, as well as organizing other events and activities to bring community together, to thank local agencies and first responders, firefighters, things of this nature.
How's the air quality there where you are on your church property?
Yeah, better today. You may see blue skies. It is still very smoky in the air. That is a concern for folks as the air quality is improving, but is still not great. You'll still see people in town and returning using masks. I know as people are just getting back to their homes, they're finding that their homes or businesses, many of our churches were affected by smoke damage, and so those are some of the things we're addressing today.
And lastly, Pastor Brandon, how can people be praying? How can our viewers be praying for you guys in California right now?
Yeah, thank you. Just pray for just a great move in our community. Again, I'm still just recovering, just healing still, and I think there's a moment right now for a movement toward God and toward the things of God, and realizing where our help comes from and needing something larger, someone larger than ourselves. And we see that happening in our county and in this region. And so that your viewers would just be praying for our churches, for our pastors, for our government leaders in this area as we come together to serve our community, that the name of God would be made great.
Amen. God will certainly bring beauty out of ashes. Thank you so much, Pastor Brandon. We're glad you guys are safe and continue to stay that way. God bless you.
Thank you.
Still ahead. In sports, the World Series championship for the Washington Nationals is the big story this week. We'll have that and much more right after this.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5, Wednesday night at 9:30.
Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary To Life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless
Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com to get your copy today.
The big news in sports this week was the Washington Nationals' first win of a World Series. Shawn Brown will have more on that this week on Going the Distance. But first, here's a sneak peek at the show, including some perspective on the game from one of the athletes.
Well, the World Series is over with a big win by the Nationals, but the Astros came up short. And relief pitcher Will Harris spoke with me before the series about not living your life around wins and losses.
Baseball has often been described as a game where you fail more times than you succeed. But failing on the job is one thing, failing at home is another. And for Houston Astros reliever Will Harris, finding the balance between the two is a lesson he had to learn early in his career when he made the jump to the majors while learning how to be a husband and father.
Raising kids in professional baseball is not an easy thing, and so and it's not easy on the wives at home, and so having to balance, raising children, relationships with your wife and communication. You travel a lot, so it can be more difficult if you're trying to be a rock for your family, but you're not there all the time. That can be a difficult thing.
Will debuted in the big leagues in 2012 with the Colorado Rockies, but his career didn't start off the way he wanted.
I struggled very badly. I didn't handle it well mentally. Just put a lot of pressure on myself. I felt that pressure of, I really need to start doing better here or this could end for me.
For fear of being sent back to the minors, Will devoted most of his time adjusting his curveball and cutter pitches to big league style of play. The game eventually became his #1 priority.
I think I kind of had baseball a little bit too high in the sky on a pedestal of what I wanted to be, and so when you fail at that, it's like, okay, well, what's left,
At home, his wife Caroline was learning how to be a mom, which was also challenging, especially since each of their mothers passed away.
My wife, she didn't have a lot of help. Neither one of us have mothers, so there was no grandmothers in the picture to help her in those early stages of motherhood. And, it was her first time, it was my first time, and so me not being there and being able to help her on a day-to-day basis was very difficult on her, which in turn made it difficult, on me.
To make matters worse, Will's career kept him moving. In April of 2013, he was traded to the Oakland A's, but 3 days later, he was traded again to the Arizona Diamondbacks, where he bounced back and forth to the minors. And the time away from his family caused him to refocus on his priorities, especially his faith.
Just kind of took it upon myself to kind of rebuild who I was, or what was important to me, and kind of change my priorities and the pecking order of my faith, and then, be a good husband and be a good dad, and then baseball would come after all of that. Me and my wife were Christians, but I think we just kind of took it upon ourselves to maybe dive a little deeper and be better for my daughter,
Prioritizing their faith helped Will and Caroline embrace the ebb and flow of professional baseball.
We finally got to the point where it was like, whatever's going to happen, we're going to do it together. And we're not going to be separated anymore. And so when I got sent down again to Reno, they came with me, and we got an apartment. I wasn't living in hotels anymore. It was like, that's wherever we're going, we're going to do it together. And we moved in our apartment, and that day, that apartment we moved into, it was underneath a billboard sign on the interstate, and it was a picture of Jesus, and it said, "Trust in the Lord." And it was one of those moments where we both saw it and was like, we're doing the right thing.
With a new perspective, Will's career began to take off. In 2015, he signed with Houston. 2 seasons later, he became a World Series champion. Now, as he heads further into this season, he understands the importance of keeping his relationship with Christ above everything else.
It's the center, man. It's the rock that It's an everlasting relationship. It's there all the time. And I think people think that like the leap of faith that you take in the Lord is like this giant canyon you have to jump over. And it's not. It's just slow steps that you can take in your faith and your Christianity, and it'll grow over time. If it's a commitment that you can make and stay true to it and have belief in it and have faith that this is the right way, your life will just be so much more fulfilled than it was before.
We also have Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz, who shows us how he's using his platform beyond the gridiron and much more on Going the Distance.
Shawn, and you can catch Going the Distance with Shawn Brown this weekend on the CBN News Channel. That's Saturdays at 6:30 and Sunday at 7:30, both Eastern times. After the break, how Christian singer TobyMac is honoring the life of his son.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
From Washington, D.C., uncompromising stories, interviews, and analysis from veteran journalists David Brody.
Escalating fight.
Jenna Browder.
Chose his words carefully.
Ben Kennedy.
Plan to join him.
And Amber Strong.
For impeachment grows a little bit louder.
Bringing you the political news that matters.
We get out and tell the story of the progress that we're making in this country.
Watch Faith Nation, weeknights at 6 on the CBN News Channel.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
And finally tonight, Christian music artist TobyMac is asking his fans to give to a new charity instead of sending flowers to his son's funeral. The singer's eldest son, Truett Foster McKeon, died last week at the age of 21. TobyMac shared a photo on Facebook announcing the Truett Foster Foundation. He said his son's dream to make music since the age of 12 inspired the foundation, writing, "We want to use this fund to help kids pursue their dreams, get an education, or pursue music." The website states 100% of the donations will go toward the scholarships. That's it for us. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.